My granddaughter was sent to prison for a mistake she didn't understand. So, I returned to help her find hope again. My name is Diane Fletcher. I'm 70 years old and retired after 30 years working in a state correctional facility. Over the years, I thought I had seen everything people were capable of: courage, regret, resilience. But nothing prepared me for the day my granddaughter Sophie was taken away in handcuffs. She was just 19, bright, kinda little impulsive, still learning who she was. They said she was guilty of something terrible, but I knew her heart. When she looked at me through tears and whispered, "Grandma," I didn't know what was happening. I believed her. I didn't see a criminal. I saw a frightened young girl who'd made a mistake she didn't understand. And I promised her I would stand beside her, always. So I did something unexpected. I returned to the same place I had once worked, not as a guard or an officer this time, but as a volunteer. I went back not to punish, but to protect. Not to judge, but to help. The first time I saw her behind the glass, my heart ached. Her eyes looked tired, and there was a quiet tremor in her hands. I taught her small things: how to stay calm, how to read people, how to keep her spirit safe. But survival wasn't enough for either of us. We needed understanding. We needed truth. Before all this happened, Sophie had been dating a young man named Brandon. He had asked her to drive his car one day, just to drop something off for his work. She trusted him. She thought she was helping. But something hidden in that car changed her life completely. And when everything came to light, he disappeared. Sophie was left to carry the weight of his choices and a sentence that didn't belong to her. That night, I sat quietly at my kitchen table, thinking about all the women I had met in that prison. The ones who had been misled, frightened, or forgotten. I realized Sophie had become one of them, and I couldn't let her face it alone. 2 weeks later, I put on my volunteer badge and walked through the gates again. The sounds, the lights, the smell of disinfectant. They were all familiar. But this time, I wasn't there for duty. I was there for love. While working in the library, I met a woman named Crystal. She spoke softly, with the kind of exhaustion that comes from being misunderstood for too long. One afternoon, she told me her story. Her boyfriend had asked her to hold a package for his gym business. She agreed, wanting to help. When the police arrived, he was gone, and she was the one who paid the price. When she described him, tall, brown hair, a star tattoo on his wrist, I felt a quiet stillness in my chest. That was the same man who had once called himself Brandon. Over the next few months, I listened to more women. Each one told a story that sounded painfully familiar. Different towns, different names, but always the same pattern, the same man. I began writing everything down: names, dates, places. It became clear that this wasn't about one mistake. It was a web of manipulation that had hurt so many. And somewhere in that web was the proof Sophie needed. As months passed, I watched my granddaughter transform. She began studying the law, reading late into the night. She started helping other women with their cases, listening, guiding, comforting. In a place meant to break her, she was quietly healing others. One day, she took my hand and said, "Grandma, maybe I can help finish what you started." And in that moment, I saw not the frightened girl who once cried behind the glass, but a young woman finding her strength. We reached out to a kind attorney named Peter Walsh. He read through my notes carefully and said, "This could change things, but we'll need proof, records, connections, anything solid." I nodded. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but love rarely is. Not everyone wanted us asking questions. A few people grew distant. A few doors quietly closed. But I had lived long enough to know that silence can't bury the truth forever. And I wasn't going to stop searching. I've spent my life believing that goodness always finds a way to surface. Even through walls, even through pain, even through time. Every letter, every conversation, every act of kindness brings us a little closer to that light. Sophie still has time left to serve, but she isn't the same scared girl she once was. She's stronger now, wiser. And I believe, deep in my bones, that one day soon, she'll walk free again. Because justice isn't only about laws and courts. It's about faith, faith in people, faith in truth, and faith in love that refuses to give up. So until that day comes, I'll keep walking those halls. One step, one smile, one small act of courage at a time. And when my granddaughter finally steps outside those gates, the first thing I'll tell her is this: you never walked this road alone. You were loved every single day. Thank you for listening. If you believe love has no age and hope has no limit, subscribe to Never Too Old, because sometimes the gentlest hearts create the strongest stories.